Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Monroe Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting for June 1st, 2023. It is 7:01 p.m. I am Mike O'Reilly, the chairman. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming in. I will next call the roll, starting on my right.
Dominic Spriglino, alternate commissioner.
Ryan Condon, Commissioner.
Leanne Ambrosi, Commissioner.
Robert Westland, Commissioner.
Nicole Lupo, alternate commissioner.
Rick Schultz, Planning and Zoning Administrator.
Sarah Stroud, Recording Secretary.
Thank you. This is the time on the agenda where we welcome public participation. If anyone's here from the public, online or in person, that would like to address the commission on any matters not before the commission tonight. If you have questions or comments for something before us tonight, during each public hearing, there'll be time allotted for comments. So if anyone's here tonight for general comments, now's the time to raise your hand. Seeing none, anyone online, raise your hands. Seeing none, then we will move on. First public hearing tonight, ZCA RAA 2023, it's been continued to 6:15. Further. So we'll go on to the second one. We only have four. Second public hearing is CP 2018-03A3. This is 205 Monroe Turnpike. This will be open tonight. Common, you have
Yes.
notice.
Planning and Zoning Commission, Monroe, Connecticut, in accordance with CGS 8-7D, a public hearing will be held on Thursday, June 1st, at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter via hybrid Zoom meeting. In-person attendees located in Monroe Town Hall. SCP 2018-03-A3, file 1598A, 205 Monroe Turnpike. Permit approval, amendment, modification, application for proposed site development at 205 Monroe Turnpike. Assessors map 006, lot 10/00, 205 Monroe Turnpike, owner Solely Engineering LLC, applicant. Notice was published in the Connecticut Post on May 20th.
Thank you, Commissioner Condon. Rick, do you have the list of?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Exhibit 1, application set plan. Exhibit 2, letter to the Wetlands Commission from Solely Engineering. Exhibit 3, revision of site plans from Solely Engineering. And Exhibit 4, the certified return receipt cards. That is all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Rick. And for the applicant?
Mike, do we have to see someone
Yes.
before we go any further?
Nicole is up next, so. Nicole.
Okay.
All right, the record will show Nicole Lupo is seated.
Good evening, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Kevin Soley. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut with Soley Engineering. Office is located right here in Monroe, 501 Main Street. We're going to talk about application for 205 Monroe Plaza. Just to orient everyone, so here's an aerial southern end of the town of Monroe. The interchange here with 111. The town line is located right about here. So this is the first property on the left as you travel north of 25. This site's been subject to many approvals. This is a recent aerial after the Noble Gas fueling facility has been open. This has been open for several years. You can see as part of the previous approval, we had Noble Gas, we had Panera Bread approved in this location here. This recently opened up. Another great addition. We're going to talk about a modification to the portion of the site from what was previously approved in past applications. So here shown in red represents what was previously approved on this property. It included the Noble Gas in the bottom left-hand corner here, Panera Bread in this here, and then we had a 17,000 625 square foot retail building located here. And a 10,000 office building located in the southernmost part of the property association here. Well, what this red plan overlays is our proposed site plan, which is we're proposing to replace this 17,000 square foot strip retail building with a 19,677 square foot grocery store. This project has gone back before the design review board, and I believe there should be a positive referral into the packet from them. But we've gone before them, we're proposing a 620,000 square foot grocery store. Included in this is 169 parking spaces for the rear portion of the site, and the 10,000 square foot medical office building that was previously approved will continue to be incorporated as part of this revised plan. So the main changes from this plan is really just the relocation of that, the replacement of that 17,000 square foot building with that 19,000 square foot grocery store. So included in your package, we have detailed design plans showing all of the changes to the plans. I'm just going to run some of those quickly. Showing red and our proposed plan. We've been able to match and maintain all of the existing infrastructure that was installed as part of the previous approvals. The site's been designed with deep sump catch basins, providing stormwater detention and water quality treatment for all the stormwater, and we're able to reduce those peak rates of runoff for all the storm events analyzed. Stormwater discharge through some existing discharge locations that were established as part of the first phases of the project. Towards the rear of this portion of the site here. We've included detailed soil erosion sedimentation control plans. Obviously, the site has been under construction for some time, so it's been disturbed. Those measures have been maintained throughout the duration of construction. There's been no adverse impact to any of the resources on the property. And as part of this application, we simply provided some more detailed plans to show exactly how this site will be constructed if it is approved. We also have a comparison plan of the previously approved landscape plan versus what we're proposing now. You can see we're able to, so we've been able to maintain a very, very robust buffer along the northerly property line, westerly property line here. This portion of the property does abut some of throughout. I think is evident on the northern gas and red the overall project has been designed with a very extensive planting plan. We've been able to see that this into this plan here. We've incorporated a series of flowering trees and trees. That covers things like that. What we're proposing is a great addition to a project that we're really proud of in town. I think the first two phases are great. The developer has been at this for a very long time. We're very, very excited to be here tonight with this proposed plan. Just real quick, we do have obviously a revised utility plan. We're able to, the site, the septic system for the office buildings remains previously approved. That's been reviewed and approved by the health department. Post grocery store septic system has been reviewed, tested with the health department, and that's there's added soil capacity to accommodate those very minor flows associated with this building. From a high level standpoint, we've included a lighting plan with the lighting details. Again, it's creates some consistency down to the center, so we're very excited about what this is going to look like. All of the lighting is designed as recessed fixtures, dark sky compliant lights to make sure there's enough glare to our properties. We've included our elevations, which again, this has gone to design review. We think it's a very nice building, and it's been enhanced from a prototypical plan, so it really will fit in very well with the town of Monroe and some of the other developments that have obviously come before it. This facade here, this is the south elevation. This is essentially what faces Monroe Turnpike. So it includes quite a bit of glazing and glass and a lot of architectural interest, sloping roof lines to really kind of create a really nice environment and a welcome as you kind of drive into the center. And then obviously as you come around, this is the facade that will face the main parking field at west elevation. towards the south. And then the other elevations as well. We also have the floor plan in here, which, we wanted to include as part of our submission. From an overall standpoint, the site, included in our submission, we included some information regarding our traffic generation. It is consistent with what was previously approved. And, from an analysis standpoint, the proposed signal that was installed is more than adequate to accommodate any of the trips generated with this development. We're going to be going through a process with the DOT to amend our OSDA certificate. We've gotten some initial comments from staff, which we've been able to respond to. We feel that what we have before you is, truly a great modification to what was previously approved, and we're really, really excited about bringing it to town. With me here this evening is Matt Baldino from my office, who's assistant project manager on the project, who's been very intimately involved with the design. Also representatives from the development team and representative from Aldi itself. So if you have any questions at this time, we'd be happy to answer them, and look forward to working through this with you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. So what we'll do first is go to the commissioners. If commissioners have any questions, then we'll go to the public. So we'll start on my right.
No questions at this time.
No questions.
What's the hours?
I think we would be looking for, generally speaking, we would likely have the ability to operate 24 hours. We appreciate no restrictions. However, I think that's something that usually gets adjusted based on market demands and tenant requirements, or, community requirements.
Our typical hours are from,
Just name and address for the record.
Bruno Ranko, Director of Real Estate for Aldi. I'm out of our South Windsor office in Connecticut. Our typical hours are from 9 to 8, Monday through Sunday. We're off a couple of holidays, but typically that is our normal hours.
Thank you.
Doing both these buildings or just, no?
So the next phase of the construction will be the proposed Aldi, and actually the site's been designed to really accommodate so that we can essentially kind of build up to this landscape island parking spine, so that we can develop this. We would install all the utilities to this area so that this could kind of be finished and improved, and allow for Aldi to open, and then if and when a final tenant is identified for this, that would be able to take place in the back. But
full property?
from a landscape standpoint, the entire site is
all the way behind the medical building too, right?
Yeah, we have landscaping throughout the entire.
I know, I saw it in the plan, but I'm wondering if you're gonna do that at the same time, if you're doing this.
I think we would probably refrain from doing a lot of the finished landscaping and not immediately around this building and behind it, just in case, something changes with that building, we were to come back before you. I think we really want to try to focus on this main segment in here to get this landscape operation.
So what's on the back side of that then? Properties connect to that?
Yeah, so there's the DR Charles is to our south. I think that's.
No, I'm talking about on the back side. Where the medical building would be.
DR Charles is here. Sure. It's undeveloped at this point.
So, I'm trying to look.
That's the undeveloped parcel.
Undeveloped?
It's coming into the commission.
That part behind it?
Yep.
Okay. I was just worried about just residents back there that, if you don't screen, be wide open.
Well, again, there's no residents immediately kind of west of us here. This was I think this is a vacant piece of parcel that's access off of Technology Drive or no?
Technology
Drive here.
That's the one. Okay.
Yeah. You met with them at the subcommittee.
Okay. That's all I have for now.
And this went through ARB already?
Yes.
It did?
Yes, and there should be a referral letter file.
Okay, and I checked out the technical details, and from that standpoint, the homework has certainly been done, the truck turning radius, the lighting, the parking and such. I did get a chance, knowing this was coming up, to go to the West Haven location to check it out to see what type of place it was. I hadn't been to an Aldi's before. What I noticed was a smaller, more manageable footprint. There was a kind of a European design inside, frameless coolers with reach-in chests, 4 to 5 cash registers. A few little differences from what you see in the larger stores, but something I think the town could definitely benefit from, a discount grocer, especially on that side of town. Now, not that this really applies to the application, but I think it should be said that the parent company is Albrecht Discounts.
We are a family-owned company, the Albright, the company. Our founder has passed away several years ago, about a decade ago, and we're run by his children.
And that company is also owns Trader Joe's.
So there's two brothers, there's two Albright brothers, there's an Aldi North and an Aldi South in Europe. They split the company. We belong to Aldi South, and there's an Aldi North. The Aldi North portion owns Trader Joe's. We have no affiliation. We do purchase. We do have some buying power that we use together. So like our olive oil comes from Italy, because we're obviously a European company. That might be the same olive oil you're going to see at Trader Joe's. So there's some shared suppliers. I can't call anybody at Trader Joe's and ask them for advice.
But it's safe to say that there could possibly be a strand of Trader Joe's DNA affiliated with this company.
We're both private label. I think the Trader Joe's motto was to go into areas with very high educated consumer, very low incomes, so highly educated low incomes. Aldi is we're middle income grocery. We like to consider ourselves like families, working families with children. That's where our kind of focus on.
They fit into your business plan.
Yeah.
Got it.
So different kind of customer base in general.
Yeah, it definitely was different, but it was clean. It appeared nice to me. It was easy to get around. It was a nice layout. So.
Yeah, West Haven is our older store.
Yeah.
We just expanded it recently. Like we've done all of the older Connecticut stores. We have 31 stores in Connecticut with 3 more planned.
Great. Okay. That's all from me.
All right, thanks. So thank you for that. I know the hours you said are 9 to 8. When would the deliveries be made? Like when are the scheduled deliveries? I think there is a residential house not next to you guys, but kind of near Panera somewhere. So I just want to know what time the deliveries would be.
So we're private labels. We have a huge distribution center in South Windsor, Connecticut. All the groceries get ordered. They get picked that day. They get loaded on a truck anywhere from starting at 2 and then they're typically delivered overnight, anywhere between 10 and 5 in the morning, because we are close to the divisional office, so you can't take them there. Those windows would happen after the store is closed. But typically, it's one truck per day from the distribution center, depending on how busy the store is. And then we get milk deliveries every other day. Those happen during working hours. We do sell some Coke products. Those come out once a week or so, and those get delivered from the week.
Can I ask one more question? Well, when you're done.
Okay.
How many employees?
It depends how busy the store is. I've been with the company 17 years. I started as a district manager back in my day in Pennsylvania. We might have 5 employees in the store that would stock and manage the registers. Now it's a little bit more. It's anywhere from 15 to 25 to New York City, where we have close to 100 employees in some of those stores.
Thank you.
Where the driveway comes out, is there going to be a stop sign there? And can you show me like the comparison to where this driveway will come out and then where Panera comes out?
Sure. So here's the signal as entrance. You come in here and the Noble and the Panera are aligned.
Okay.
This driveway essentially just continues up and then it'll kind of up to the left to get access to the front of the store. This is actually free flowing and there's stop signs on the Noble and Panera driveways.
Okay. Will there be one coming out of Aldi's or no?
We weren't proposing a stop bar here. We want to keep this free flowing.
Okay.
We just want to stop those side approaches to that driveway.
Okay. No, I think it's a great addition to Monroe. I know I myself am an Aldi shopper and often frequent New Milford to Fairfield. And I think the residents of Monroe could use some affordable options that are also very healthy options from what I've seen. So I'm looking forward to seeing this come through. Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
And there's no wetlands on the property.
So there's a wetland pocket here. Our proposed activity did not change any activity in the regulated area that's been previously approved. We had a pre-application meeting with staff and with Cheryl, the wetlands agent, and they determined we weren't changing any of the activity in the wetland buffer, so our current wetland permit is still applicable to this project.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go to the public now. If there's any members of the public that would like to comment on this application here today, just raise your hands. I'll identify you. Have you come down to the microphone and state your name and address, please? And you'll address the commission, not the applicant.
Good evening, everybody. Nick Smith, 1154 Highway Drive, Monroe, obviously. Obviously, to support Aldi or the store coming. My wife and I shop there. We don't want to Jeremy quite often. It saves us roughly about 35% of groceries. So I know for me and for a lot of residents in this town, it'd be a huge help, especially with inflation, et cetera. So I don't have much else to say on that. The options are very healthy, as you mentioned. The kids with various allergies, there's a lot of options there as well. So we're a huge fan. We go out of town and shop there most of the time. There's a difference between that and big wine. We like big wine and all, but it's hundreds of dollars pretty quickly. So that's all I'm saying. Fan of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, come on down. Just name and address for the record, please.
Barbara Farr, 233 Meadows End Road in Monroe. First, I want to say thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak tonight and share a little bit about our personal experiences and support for Aldi. I'm actually probably one of the few in the room that has been an Aldi shopper for more than 40 years. And when we moved here about 16 years ago, I was actually pretty devastated that there wasn't an Aldi anywhere close. The closest one at the time was in Orange. So over those past 16 years, stores got a little closer and a little closer and a little closer, but it'd be awesome to have one right here in Monroe. I don't know how familiar you are, and I apologize if someone on the commission spoke. I just got here, I was running late. But I don't know how familiar you are with the products that are offered at Aldi. I'm a shopper. I go out of town to shop. There's times I do go to Big Y to pick up a handful of things, but for the most part, I'm shopping out of town. Because I can get grass-fed beef, free-range chicken, organic produce, organic food items. I just had organic rice tonight. My husband, gluten-free, which is important to my husband. Very, very important. Keto, which is important to me. I'm trying to lose weight, but it's not working. They have all kinds of charcuterie supplies. If you have anyone in your family that needs to make one of those charcuterie boards, they need to go to Aldi. They will find the meats, the cheeses, the fruits, all of it. And come home with not spending a whole heck of a lot like they might somewhere else. Smoked salmon, fish, shrimp. All of those things are very sustainably sourced, non-GMO. And if you're a chocolate fan, they have amazing chocolate and ice cream. It doesn't fit keto, but they have amazing chocolate and ice cream. And that's just the food. And the aisle of smiles, or some people call it aisle of shame, because sometimes you go there and you come home with more items out of that aisle than you do groceries. But in that aisle, you will find amazing items that you never knew you needed before going in. Clothing, kids' toys, kitchenware, decor items, pools. There's actually a pool at the Aldi's currently. If you need a small pool, which you have to go to planning and zoning and get approval for, but there's a small pool there, like regular size furniture, carpets. You never know what you're going to find. And then the other thing that I want to bring up is the environmentally friendliness of all these. They were environmentally friendly before being environmentally friendly was cool. And I know that from my 40 years of work shopping there, the quarter. Folks don't understand the quarter. It's super easy. You put the quarter in, you shop, you put the cart back, you get the quarter back. Or you pass the quarter to the next person so that they get the extra smile of generosity, which Monroe is very known for. They have boxes, if you forget your grocery bags, to take the items home in, recycling the boxes that are in the stores. And of course, now it's being done in almost any grocery store, in any store we have, but bring your own bags. They've had that for 40 years. The other thing I want to speak about, Aldi, is their employee health initiatives. They're the only grocery store that has their grocery folks that check out sitting. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you shop at Aldi, but my mom works at a grocery store and has for years. My mom has back trouble. My mom had to petition her bosses to allow her to sit to check groceries at a grocery store. Aldi's has been doing that for years. They care. They understand the value of their employees. Even though there's not many in the store, they understand the value of their employees. And yeah, the savings to the shopper is amazing. A long time ago, I did a shop for shop price comparison, and I was spending 40% of what I could get with store brand products when I bought my groceries at Aldi's. Prices have changed, inflation and shortages have changed those things, but like he said, the gentleman that was here earlier, I think he said somewhere around 40% savings. That's significant. And I know that our population here in Monroe could definitely benefit from that, regardless of who you are. So I am a strong petitioner and champion and hopeful Monroe Aldi shopper. I do hope you give consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here tonight that would like to speak to the commission about this application? Is there anyone online that would like to speak to the commission?
Yeah, there's some hands raised.
Can you share screen? All right, we'll start with Mr. Brady. Mr. Brady, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Apologies, I can't be here this evening. I'm home alone with the kids. I live at 324 Spring Hill Road. I am the northernmost adjacent property to the property in question. I will start with, I don't oppose the change to an Aldi from the previous application. I think that'll be fine. Questions I do have are with these trucks coming all night and being a shop open till 8. I understand the lighting is restricted to the property. Will the lighting stay on all night, or will there be a time that the overlight turns off? And how many trucks can we expect throughout the night? If I'm sure it won't affect the kids too much, but we do have sleeping children on the property. Those are my two initial questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brady. Are there any other people online that have comments or questions? No other people online? Okay, anybody else here? If not, then we'll go back to the applicant.
So, good evening, just Kevin Soley again for the record. So just as we stated before, generally it's maybe one truck a day. So from a frequency of truck standpoint, we only do that. From a lighting standpoint, the parking lot lights do go off at night, but they are sensor driven. So if there's activity, they would turn back on. And then most of the lights around the building actually turn off. There are a couple of sconces that stay on just for safety reasons.
Security light. Okay.
Correct, security light.
All right. Commissioners, have any other questions?
Ready done?
Yeah, Brady, any other questions?
That's all I can think of right now. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Participating. All right, so I think the commissioners have some questions.
Can you just point out where the loading area is for the truck that would be coming?
Sure.
Still your question?
Here we go. Loading dock is positioned in this location here, because just based on this site constraints, we have designed it in a place where we can actually make those maneuvers work. So the loading dock is tucked into the corner here.
And the trucks that deliver, do they have backup alarms or do they have flashing lights?
Well, I believe the backup alarms are required by OSHA, so those are required just from a.
For one a day? Okay, thank you very much.
That's my question. Loading dock goes with.
Okay. Rick, do you have anything else?
Just, Mr. Chairman, this is the second application under the new regulations for
EV?
electric vehicles, yes.
Yeah.
Our first one was the mixed-use shopping center on 25. And that was going to be a shared situation with the town of Trumbull and Monroe. This is all in Monroe, so Kevin will discuss that. The Architects Review Board did recommend favorably with the following recommendations: enclosure around the dumpster. The dumpster is internal near the loading dock area. And they recommended a different color berm on the band on the westerly side, the long side of the building, just to break up that color, which Kevin will show you.
Sure. So thanks, Rick, and I failed to include that. Obviously, as of January 1st, the state building code created a new requirement that for all commercial projects or projects like this, 10% of the parking spaces have to be designed as EV capable to encourage EV charging. So we actually have incorporated and included EV charging spaces located here, and a number of EV charging located in this location as well. And those are to be constructed as, all of the home runs and the conduit runs back to the building, the cables in, everything ready, so those chargers can just be dropped right in place, and we can have that as additional EV charging stations as something that's needed as we go towards the future. I will add also, I believe Noble Gas also, not that it was required, but they actually are incorporating and installing some EV charging spaces, I think, in this location here, just as part of their program as well, because they're very big into that EV. So this is great that we're able to kind of incorporate this new requirement into this back half of the building, or back half of the site, since we are proposing this proposed modification once that regulation became enacted.
So the reason why the EV stations are so far away from the grocery store is because you're sharing those with the building in the back?
Well, actually, no, these are dedicated. So we actually have to provide one for handicap space. And then basically when we looked at a parking standpoint, the parking, we had to do 10% of the parking that was allocated for the Aldi was EV, and then 10% of the parking spaces allocated for the medical office were EV as well. They just happened to be, from a location standpoint. These are level 2 charger capables, so it's not the high speed charging. It still has some time duration to get a full charge, depending on the technology of the vehicle.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead. Any outdoor displays or anything?
No, not typically.
No. Besides the shopping carts, we don't do any outdoor displays.
No propane.
No, we do not do.
Because I want to make sure that.
Okay. All right, thank you. Did you want to keep the hearing open?
I have one more question. I have one more question. I don't have my glasses. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be. Kevin, are there sidewalks going up along the side from, like, if you wanted to walk from Panera or from, like, the bus station or bus stop? Sorry.
There are. So one of the things we obviously focused on sidewalk and pedestrian connectivity when we first go around and be able to include that. So right now there's sidewalks, and here we continue that sidewalk along the driveway to Aldi. There's a little bit of a grade change as you kind of come up here. This building is a little bit higher, so it's going to be a really nice beacon on the hill. But that sidewalk will wrap around. That sidewalk will wrap around that drive. Here we go. Wrap around this driveway, then access to the front of the store. There's a sidewalk along the building here, and then along the front as well. And then we also have, one of the things that we did is we incorporated, pedestrian connectivity kind of through the parking lot. We actually had some crosswalks and some gaps and some landscaped islands to kind of encourage that pedestrian connection all the way through. That already to provide, safe pedestrian passage kind of throughout the entirety of the center. And the sidewalks can all go back down to 111, and obviously with that bus stop that's across the street.
Do you plan on extending that walk all the way to the medical building? Minute?
We weren't. We were trying to get access to, this bay of parking, so we didn't continue it all the way through to the medical office, but the medical office obviously does have sidewalks around the entirety of the building and up to this location here to kind of provide that means of pedestrian access into this small parking lot, and then, very short walks over to the access on the Aldi piece.
But there's no walkway through there at all on that island?
We don't have a dedicated sidewalk through there.
No, I didn't say about a dedicated sidewalk. So just in case anybody ever wanted to walk from the office building down to.
Well, we certainly have, our landscape plan, while robust, we did provide some gaps in it so that there would be a place to kind of walk through some vegetation. I see that.
Yeah, I just don't want anybody walking not in the middle of the road.
Right here. So you could.
The gap there?
Yes, in the plantings.
We can address that when we come out of the other building, right?
Yes. Well, if it doesn't change, we move forward with this, but if there's any change to that.
I just want to have a walkway. Somewhere, some way.
I think
It'd have to be
if it pleases the commission, as a condition of approval, we'd be happy to make revisions to this to provide for that walk, and we can work through it with staff as part of
that'll work.
Final approval. Thank you.
That'll work for me.
Great.
Okay, any other questions from
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
staff? Did you need to leave this open?
I don't believe so. I think we've gotten staff comments. We've responded to them. I think we're.
Want to close the hearing?
I think we'd like to close the hearing, yeah.
All right, then we'll close the hearing. Then we'll move on to the next public hearing, SCP 2023-6. File 1654A. This is 846 Main Street. This is a continuation from May 18th hearing, at which time this was opened. Yes.
All these is ahead. Mom's gonna be.
I lost the cursor.
My mom will be excited.
Over one.
I think this is just
Like cheese one. Oh, I think I had those in.
Still connected, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Good deal. Right. We have any additional exhibits, right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and I also want to report on the staff meeting with the police and fire.
Our police?
Yeah, no, I just.
Yeah, we reviewed the traffic report, and they had one recommendation to you.
It is no longer shared.
They will. It's gonna be a building from the ground up, but he's gonna say, I want,
Right, Troy, now, let me see if
I'm gonna say, I want this. Yeah. I'd be disowned. On its right, some cheese, they are nice.
We have not, so we take it from. I think it's 10 minutes. There you go.
Keep going. Come.
Promise not to vote on anything.
Issue doesn't turn.
As soon as he walks out the door, a motion to.
Yeah. Let me share it again. Let me bump it out and share it again. All right, we're,
40 minutes, you smoke, you walk in the door.
yeah, I got you, you're in sharing, so you're in sharing mode.
That's stressful.
They only came in.
Oh.
Yeah. Let me close down, let me close it down. Start.
Yes,
Have you been to all these?
I think so. There's one in Jersey.
Yeah, one in, Fairfield is new. I don't, we go all the time,
Took some pictures. I just texted them to you.
especially with the kids. I'm like, what snacks?
Yeah. It's
Healthy snacks.
Healthy snacks.
They do fun advent calendars
Like yes, they
for
do.
adults.
For adults.
Oh, I love
You gotta get there, you gotta get there early.
Or beer.
Where is this?
All these.
Just waiting for everyone else to catch on to the cart thing.
Right? It's so easy.
Like you see that everyone puts their cart back there. Can we do it over?
It's so nice, because you're like, here's my cart, you want to go? No, don't worry about it. And that just makes them window. You get that middle.
No, but it prevents them from all laying out in the parking lot.
It helps. Yeah.
Oh, on our quarterback.
Okay. Always get that one rogue shopper back.
And we'll just give them a report that at the end of the year, how much money they spent by attending the shopping cart.
You can break
It's
it.
totally different.
Yeah, tell Kevin he broke.
Tell them to get back in here.
Boxes that were just like the front were open and you're taking, it was a lot nicer than I expected.
They're very nice, they're clean.
Yeah.
That middle aisle is full of like stuff you never thought you needed.
It's like
I kind of
non-food
lane the grocery.
baskets and there's pictures in there of that too.
And you do get a lot of the product is the same you can get at Trader Joe's.
Just under a different name.
Yeah. Well, had that feel, definitely has the
Because I
feel.
get my gluten-free
Not the
stuff
same,
there.
it's our feel.
Yeah. And that's why it's the only place I can find this certain free thing I have to have.
Yeah.
I have it.
We do the share again.
I finally went to the Panera the other day,
I have it once.
the first time. It was great. It was very quick. Drive-through's nice.
I want to go sip and do, but
They were friendly.
It's expensive though.
It was good. Yeah, yes, it was.
About $17 for lunch.
for one person.
It was good. It was
4 people is like $85 for my family. I'm like,
Polite tea.
I might as well go out to dinner.
I get the half sandwich and the soup.
Yeah, the pig too.
Yeah.
I did that, but they gave me a full sandwich.
Oh, yeah?
Sweet.
It is good though.
No.
Some of their hats look like hungry.
Yeah, wait.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
You took a break because
We still have
still broken.
I rushed. It's just working.
Yeah, what's wrong, Rick?
Oh, hi, Ryan, Rick, we're having difficulty sharing here it is.
There we go.
We're there now.
Is it the wire, you think, Ryan?
Just had.
You may have, but it's working out.
It's like IT work. Do you show
I
up?
think there's something goes.
It's one of those things when you call the IT guy, this might be
It
what
works.
works.
You're right.
You don't make the phone call.
Restart it?
No,
Yes, it
a
works.
repair was made, loose wiring, so.
Ask him about my email.
We've got some email problems down here if you want to call back.
All right, go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you for your patience. I had little technical difficulties there. For the record, my name is Matt Baldino. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut, assistant project manager with Solely Engineering. I'm here this evening on behalf of Gonbo Corporation for the proposed gas station development at 846 Main Street. This is a continuation from the hearing last month in which we were waiting to have comments from the police commission. I know Rick wanted to read that into, so I don't want to interrupt if you were reading those.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we have a new exhibit, the continuance letter from Solely Engineer, Exhibit number 4. At the conclusion of the last meeting, staff met with police and fire to review the traffic report and to go over the issues that were discussed. The police and fire are in support of the conclusion of the traffic report and that deliveries can be made successfully without any interference. The comment from the adjacent neighbor was conveyed to the police and fire. They're aware of their concerns with that curb cut on Pepper Street. Both the police and fire support the commission's request for a sidewalk. Sidewalk is on Main Street, but the commission said, let's continue the sidewalk on Pepper Street as well, too. The police is requesting that a generator be provided for the emergency services for this end of town during blackouts. And the applicant, I believe, agreed to provide a generator.
Yes, we've updated the plans to include the site plan here.
And that concludes that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Go ahead.
Yes, in response to the comments that we received at the last meeting, as well as in response to the police commission's, the police comments, as well as fire, we have updated the plans to include a sidewalk along Pepper Street as well as Main Street. And we've also added a generator in the northeast corner of the property, in the back corner there as well, as an emergency generator, based on the comments that they received. We have also worked through the engineering comments that we received. Majority of those revisions included an additional pipe along the eastern property to dissipate the water flow prior to running off the site to the location in which it currently travels off the site on the eastern property line. And an additional comment was to provide a sightline profile of the grades of the driveway, so we have included that as well. The driveway and the site elevation has kind of been set based on the two elevations of Main Street and Pepper Street to provide access from those 2 points. And with that, we're happy to hear any other further comments that the commission may have.
What's the generator for?
The police commission asked for a backup generator, just in the event of an emergency, that they would also be able to power the site with a generator as well.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, there are 2 right now and for the whole town, 111 and the southern end of 25. This will be the northern end of 25. And they were very pleased to hear that.
Right, just to keep for the.
You mean gas station?
Like gas for emergency vehicles, ambulance, police, fire.
Okay. And then you guys have diesel too, so.
That is correct, yes.
That's great.
Okay, great.
And as previously discussed, we are not proposing any outdoor storage. All
right, then let's go to the commissioners for any questions.
Yeah, so the generator, will that keep you in business so like regular people can buy gas?
Yes.
Oh, great. And it's just for vehicles.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
No questions.
At the fueling, we're gonna fuel fueling tanks. What's the truck path gonna be? Come in and out of there.
So let's see if I can get
Have that?
Might be able to get the cursor going. Kevin may approve. There we go. Okay, so trucks will enter the site via Pepper Street and then pull us to the side here, unload on the passenger side, reverse, and then exit via the main driveway on Main Street Route 25. We have provided a truck turning figure in the engineering report, which demonstrates the movement is capable of the largest vehicle.
So you still have a right and left turn on Main Street?
Yes, and we will pursue an encroachment permit through the Connecticut DOT, where they will review the traffic as well as the plans for the access.
The only concerns I have about the left-hand turn out of there is that when it queues up over there, it queues up about 15 car lengths. Yeah, like it's.
Yeah, so
15, maybe 16, and that was in the middle of the afternoon. I don't know what's going to do at rush hour. How are you going to prevent somebody not blocking the northbound lane from going across here because of the left turn lane there too?
So we have proposed the site driveway as currently shown with both left turn and a right turn for egress to ensure that someone making a left turn does not prevent people from making the right turn onto Main Street.
No, I think it should be all the right turn out of there, on Main Street side.
A right turn exiting the site.
Exit the side on Main Street.
Yes, so we are currently proposing full movement.
I have an issue because of the queuing there. I don't know about the rest of the commissioners, but I was there.
So I disagree, and it's just because I get it. I know if I go to that lot one day and it's a busy day and I go to get out and I got to sit there forever to turn, I'm going to learn my lesson and I'm going to go out to Pepper. But at the same time, if we close that, it's going to force everyone to go out to Pepper and queue on to Pepper when maybe Main Street isn't backed up.
Do you have a map?
I think it's going to keep the flow a lot
Do you have a
better.
map of Main Street there, where the two lanes is for queuing? Do you have any of that?
I know it backs up. I definitely know what you're talking about.
On Pepper Street back up?
No.
On Main Street.
Oh, right there.
Main Street backs up pretty bad.
Yeah. But again, if it's backed up, you're gonna go down to the
You're
light.
taking up the left-hand turn from somebody that wants to go down straight. So somebody's gonna go into that left lane for a left-hand turn.
You mean if I pull out and just block northbound and just sit
They're gonna be
there?
half into the left.
I feel like I'm not gonna pull out unless,
They're gonna be halfway into that left-hand turn. And then the person that wants to turn left-hand turn can't get down that path to turn left. When that light turns, because anybody coming out of that driveway is going to get that left-hand turn lane. I've been there, I looked at it. That's the only issue I have with that. I don't have any other issue with that. But I think it's going to be a problem. I really do, because if that other left-hand turn wasn't there, I can understand what you're saying. But that left-hand, there's two lanes there. One's a left-hand turn and one's a straight. If somebody's gonna block that left-hand turn, because they're gonna be able to fit their car in there. People that's coming down south, they wanna make a left onto Pepper Street to get into businesses, is gonna be blocked. There's no doubt in my mind that's not gonna happen.
So just to kind of go back to the statement, we did, look to push that driveway as far away from that turn lane as possible, given the site constraints.
But you're still in the turn.
We're at the tail end of the turn lane. But one of the phenomenons that happens with traffic signals where the close proximity is having the platoon breakup of the fact that once the light goes green and all the cars clear, that would then allow for movements for cars to exit. So traditionally cars wouldn't make that maneuver until there is the adequate space to do so.
Usually anybody makes maneuver. It's street. So let's not go there. We have a problem over there. Down at another place that we didn't take care of the way the lane was supposed to be. So I'm just explaining to you that, and I don't know if you're the guy that's doing it, if he's just wants both lanes, or if you can get, like I told you before, me right now, I have to have a right turn lane out there. I mean, if I didn't go there and literally look at it and sit there at that traffic light and found how many cars queued up behind me, there's a ton of them queuing up there. That light. Main Street's a busy road.
Yes, and as mentioned, we will pursue an encroachment permit with the DOT, in which they will review the complete traffic impact assessment that was submitted as well with this application, which provides a detailed analysis of the queuing that occurs at that intersection. And that will all be submitted with the DOT for that review as well.
No, I understand, but this is this commission.
Yes.
I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about DOT.
Correct.
Concerned about this commission. All right, that's all I have for now.
Okay, Commissioner Westland.
So I respectfully disagree. I don't think there's any perfect solution for the egress situation, but I do think the one you designed is about the best one that you're going to come up with for that particular spot. And there's always going to be a what if and always going to be a particular situation. I think that if there was a problem with customers leaving and blocking 25, I think they would get cited after a while. I don't know that it's illegal, but I don't think it's right. So I think if that was going to be an ongoing issue, it would have to be a problem that we'd have to take up. So I'm in favor of full movement on that. And have you guys, have you determined a tenant for the drive-through yet?
We do not have a tenant for the co-brand portion of the site. We do have the user though for the convenience store portion.
And you know what kilowatt the generator is?
I do not.
I mean, it's got to be sizable to run the.
Yeah, it will be sized to ensure that all of the pumps would operate and ensure that.
Adequately, sure. Okay, that's all I have.
No questions.
Okay, Rick, do you have anything to?
No, that's it, Mr. Chairman.
All right, then next we'll go to the public, as this is a public hearing. If anyone in the audience today would like to comment on this particular application, please raise your hands. If there's anyone online that would like to comment on this application, please raise your hands. Anyone online or anyone in the audience that would like to comment on the application, this is your chance to do so. All right, seeing none, we'll go back to the commissioners. Any further questions? Okay, seeing none, did you want to keep the hearing open?
We would request to close the public hearing.
Okay, then we'll hereby close this hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we'll move on to the third public hearing tonight. This is a regulation amendment, RIA 2023-03, file number 1026E.
Planning and Zoning Commission, Monroe, Connecticut, notice of public hearing to be held on June 1st, 2023, in accordance with CGS 8-7D. A public hearing will be held on Thursday, June 1st, 7 p.m. or soon thereafter via hybrid Zoom meeting and in-person attendees at Monroe Town Hall. RAA 2023-03, file number 1026E, petition for regulation amendment to amend age-restricted resident district regulations. Chris Russo and Rizzo LLC applicant. Notice was published once in Connecticut Post, May 25th.
Thank you, Councilor Condon. Rick, do you have the exhibits?
No exhibits, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
And are we having difficulties again?
Being able to share, yeah.
No, we just went through it. I think there's a loose wire or something. Sorry about that. Try it again.
No, it's okay. No, it's fine. I'll just read on. Chair, members of the commission, Chris Russo with Russo and Rizzo LLC, offices at 10 Saskatoon Road, here on behalf of the applicant for what we believe is a fairly modest and limited amendment to the age-restricted residence district, which really only opens up a select opportunity, select area for the opportunity to apply for an age-restricted residence district to be applied to a property. And I think that's kind of one of the most important things to point out with this application. I'll probably say it 50 times tonight, is that this application is in no way approving a development. It's not designating any parcel, specific parcel for an ARR. All it is doing is allowing this area that I'm going to go in and describe, allowing somebody to come forward and present to you for an ARR. And, as this commission knows, when that would happen, you would have to file for a zone change application to designate that parcel as an ARR. And at that time, the commission would be acting in its legislative capacity, which means that you have your broadest level of discretion. Essentially what you say goes. So really all tonight is these amendments that I'll go into. Again, all it's really saying is that a piece that may fit this description can come and apply to you for an ARR. So I think this commission can feel comfortable that you still have a lot of control over where an ARR may be. And you can, and with the zone change application, there's obviously also a special exception permit application, so you can review the site. So this is really just kind of a first initial step where, again, it's just allowing more the chance for other ARR districts. So just to go over some of the highlights of the ARR district, the current regulations, I know you're familiar with it, but just to hit some of the points because I think it's relevant to the proposed amendments. So ARR districts are permitted within all the residential and farming districts that you have, RF1, RF2, RF3, on lots with frontage on a major arterial, minor arterial, or collector road. The ARR part of it, the age restricted part of it,
means that a residential development would be restricted, age restricted, where one or more of the occupants are 55 years or older, and no permanent resident 18 years or younger can stay for 3 months out of a 12-month period. That's the age restricted portion of this regulation that you have. So essentially, practically, that means that these districts are for empty nesters and seniors. If your college kid comes home for 3 months and they're 18, that's okay. But if you have high schoolers that live with you throughout the school year, they will not be permitted in an ARR. So therefore, families with children that would use the Monroe school system are not permitted in an ARR. It's a very specific district that's meant for empty nesters and seniors. They're also restricted to condominiums. There's no apartments in an ARR. It's strictly an ownership model. And they have been designed to have significant setbacks and buffering. For attached dwellings, the setbacks are 50 feet from the front, 100 feet from the side, 100 feet from the rear. There's limited coverage. There's only 15% building coverage in the ARR. So this amendment the proposed amendment that I'm going to go through doesn't touch any of that. Buffering, the coverage, the height, the separation distances between the buildings. We're not proposing any change in that. So I'm going to go into we're asking for an amendment to the lot area in this application. So we're asking for an ARR possibly reduced size, but regardless, we're keeping in the same setbacks, the same coverage, the same buffering to make sure, even though it may not be the 10 acres that is currently required, there's still enough protection around it. And the other thing I'll just highlight is that they need access to public water, which is another limiting factor to where in the town these ARRs can be located. So to get into the application, what we're actually proposing tonight with regards to the ARR, the first is the location of an ARR. So again, currently the ARR is allowed in the residential and farming districts. So your RF1, your RF2, and your RF3 farming districts that have frontage on a major arterial, minor arterial, or collector road. That's your POCD identifies which roads those are. What we're requesting tonight is for it also to include Stanley Road if the land is located within 2,000 feet of the intersection of two state highways. So I'll kind of run through what that means and why Stanley Road. One of the nice things about Stanley Road is if an ARR were to be located there, it actually it's not directly on a main thoroughfare and heavy traffic. There's benefit there to the fact that people who live in the ARR wouldn't be just going straight on onto Main Street or straight on onto a busy street. But the 2,000 foot restriction, the radius restriction, make sure that the ARR still has access to roadways that can accommodate its traffic and providing convenience to those residents, again, that are typically seniors. So they can have access to Main Street, and that intersection, just so you know, is the intersection of Stepney and Main Street. So it's within 2,000 feet, so they're very close to access Stepney Road, and then to get right onto Main Street, it would take you, I just did it right before the hearing, it takes you a minute to get to that intersection. So it has that benefit. There's roadways that can handle traffic, but it's not exiting straight onto those busy streets. The other thing with Stanley Road, it's very close, about as close as you can get to the eastern border. It is not an area that has a significant amount of Monroe traffic flowing into it. So the commission can feel comfortable, hopefully, that approving an ARR, something that's a development that's a little bit denser isn't going to have a heavy impact on your local Monroe roads. It's, frankly, outside this 2,000, if you travel down Stanley Road, if you go outside this 2,000-foot radius to the properties and then part of Stanley Road that's beyond 2,000 feet, it's actually unpaved. So this portion is really just a paved portion of Stanley Road, which obviously makes sense. So again, Stanley, I think, because I know when we went before the regulation subcommittee, and thank you to the subcommittee because we went there multiple times. We worked on this amendment. We improved this amendment. But I know one of the things that kind of came up was why Stanley Road, and could this be used elsewhere? Could somebody come and propose this in other locations? And they certainly could, but the first part of that is you'd have to come for an amendment like we're doing. And again, you're in your legislative capacity, you have full discretion. There's no need for you just because you approved this area of Stanley Road that you would have to approve another road that's close to Main Street but doesn't exit, directly out onto it. But the second is these factors I think about Stanley Road. Again, it's not a heavily trafficked Monroe Road. It's very close to the eastern border, and it's very close to two roadways that can handle an ARR district. So I think that's something that distinguishes it in looking at the other possible roads that this could go, that somebody might think for an ARR. We really think that this is a good location for an ARR. The other, so the next amendment, I'll actually skip the next one that I had, but go to one that's a little later because it's important for the one that comes prior to it. But for the minimum lot area that's required in an ARR district. So currently, the regulation reads that the minimum lot area shall not be less than 10 acres contained within a single continuous fee simple lot. The requested amendment is to lower that to 7 acres. And it is modestly expanding the number of sites that can be able to apply to you. If somebody comes forward with a 7-acre lot, you don't necessarily have to approve it just because this amendment says 7 acres, a minimum of 7 acres. You can look at the buffering, you can look at the setback standards, you can look at the position of the site, you can look at the traffic, everything, and decide that site is not appropriate. But this just allows other lots to come present to you and say, hey, does this location work for an ARR? And then this commission can evaluate from there. And I think ARRs are something, I'm going to get into this later when going through POCD, but ARRs and the housing they provide are something that is a definite need for the town. It's been identified in the POCD as being a need. And so this just is going to allow more properties to be able to come and apply to you and see if they're an appropriate location. So this also goes hand in hand with the other amendment that it precedes this one, which is the density. So we are asking for an amendment to the density to actually lower the density standard for these smaller pieces. So this reads a little long, as attorneys are, usually to do with, making things wordy, but this does restrict the density on these smaller pieces. So right now, the density is 5 units per gross acre for attached age-restricted dwellings. What this amendment would accept from that is on parcels with a minimum lot area below 10 acres. So these smaller pieces than what you originally allowed without frontage on a major arterial, minor arterial, or collector road as identified in the 2010 Monroe Plan of Conservation and Development. The total number of age-restricted dwelling units shall not exceed 3.5 units per gross acre of the parcel. So practically that means the 7 acres that are allowed on Stanley Road, because the others are, would have frontage on a major arterial, minor arterial, or collector. But so that this is the only pieces that would be affected by this particular amendment would be anything below 10 acres that was located on Stanley Road. And we think this is a logical revision because this is a smaller ARR, something below 10 acres, below what you originally envisioned. And also on a road that is not a major arterial or minor arterial or collector, that they should not be afforded the same level of density that something that's a 10 acre that's on an arterial. It should be a smaller ARR, a less dense ARR. So as an example, just so you could understand what that means in real numbers. So a 7 acre parcel, if somebody went to the max in an ARR, would be allowed 24 units. Rather than 35 if we left the five unit, what's currently at 5. So it's, 10 or 11, less, 10 or 11 units less than what would be currently permitted. So we think that's just again, it's a logical revision. If you're a smaller piece, okay, but you're going to have less density to make sure buffering and that it fits in with the area. The next amendment actually is not our amendment. It came in when we were in the discussions with the regulation subcommittee about when we reviewed, because we looked at this amendment again and again and again, and there was some language, I think that some of the commissioners, I think Commissioner Ambrosi, this was one you were specifically looking at. There was a thought about cleaning up one of the existing regulations which had to do with the number of bedrooms permitted in age-restricted detached dwelling units. So this amendment actually wasn't our original proposal, but as we were looking to kind of clean up the whole regulation, this came up. So this amendment would permit for a detached dwelling unit that it shall not be less than 1,000 square feet, which is what the regulation currently is, nor contain more than 2 bedrooms each. The current regulation says 3 bedrooms. It's not for attached dwelling units. Attached dwelling units are already restricted. They can't have more than 2 bedrooms. This would just be for the detached. It's a stronger restriction to ensure that, and Commissioner Ambrosi, I think this was your thinking, that it wouldn't allow school children. The only thing I'll say about it is the ARR district itself, and that's probably what the original thought was when the original regulation was formulated, that the ARR district itself kind of prohibits school children. And that's why maybe the commission at that time felt comfortable with allowing 3 bedrooms in the detached dwelling units. When we normally have conversations about dwelling units, ones with 3 bedrooms are much more likely to have school children. This was a proposal that came up during the meetings with the regulation subcommittee. It doesn't affect my client, particularly with the development that they're looking to go forward. So we have no issue with it. The only thing is that since the subcommittee, I would have one slight amendment to this, which I talked with Rick about. You've already approved a number of ARR districts. So, and when we originally submitted this application and it was published, I got some calls of concern from people who have existing ARR districts. And they felt because their ARR districts were already approved with 3 bedrooms, that they should be accepted from this regulation. To be turned into non-conforming just poses issues for the future. So the amendment to what we had discussed in the subcommittee would be that you would contain no more than 2 bedrooms each, except ARR districts approved prior to, I said June 1st, 2023, just to kind of set the date and a day of the actual hearing, shall continue to be permitted 3 bedrooms each. So if they'd previously been approved for 3 bedrooms, they'd be okay. But anything going forward, if you had a detached dwelling unit, you'd only be allowed 2 bedrooms. Again, it's just making sure that ones that were previously approved are now not all of a sudden non-conforming. The final amendment is with regards to off-street parking. There's a specific amendment that says parking areas containing more than 40 parking spaces shall have 2 access driveways. And that's a mandatory requirement. The amendment we're proposing this tonight is to exclude parking spaces located within a garage or located on the exterior behind a garage space. Those are spaces obviously that are intended for the residents of the dwelling. They're obviously required under the regulations. But I think the issue with this regulation, now that there's smaller, if this application were approved, there would be smaller ARR developments permitted. It could have the unintended consequence of incentivizing an applicant to lower their off-street parking to not trip this second driveway requirement. And, you know, again, if an ARR were to be approved for a site, they would have to file for a special exception permit, and they would have to show you the traffic, their circulation. And if the commission felt that it needed 2 access drives, the commission could certainly require it. So you could end up requiring, when you look at the parking area and the layout, you may look at it and say, no, on this one, we do want 2 parking spaces. But to have it mandatory from the get-go, I think is an issue, and it could end with these unintended consequences, which somebody, you know, just tries to stay under the 40 just to avoid the second access drive. And again, you know, the current regulations, you're looking at ARR districts, if it's got to be a minimum of 10 acres and 5 units per acre permitted on attached dwelling units, you're looking at a 50-unit project under the current regulations. But if you were to approve this application, you're looking at an ARR that's 24 units or less. So it's a much smaller. We believe that a single access drive can accommodate the parking for a smaller ARR district. And so this amendment would just allow that possibility. If you didn't agree with it, you could require 2 access drives. So those are the proposed amendments. I'll just run through quickly to the POCD, because obviously the standard for the criteria for a decision regarding the text amendment is to see if this amendment is aligned with your POCD, which has a lot of strong language in it and strong data about the need for alternative housing for seniors. So one of the interesting things with the POCD, and this was, you know, I know you know this, but May of 2021 was when the POCD was approved. One of the stats that they found was that Monroe had a greater share of owners without a mortgage that are housing cost burdened than does the rest of Fairfield County. So that means that though housing cost burdened means they are burdened by property taxes and regular housing costs, and that those burdens were greater than the rest of Fairfield County. Owners without a mortgage are seniors, and typically. And so it's the seniors who are most impacted by that. Truthfully, since the POCD has almost become outdated because it was approved in May 2021, and right after that, inflation took off. And that, I mean, really was just getting started in skyrocketing in the middle of 2021. So that situation has only gotten worse since that time. So I think it's logical to say that seniors are more burdened by housing costs now than they were even 2 years ago. I mean, just as a personal anecdote, I called my septic guy for a quote to pump the tank. And the last time I paid him, it was $350. And this year it's going to be $650. So that's an expense that, if anybody knows anybody with that, but, you know, pumping septic tanks, that is a common expense for Monroe residents. That's just one, and they've exploded. And those cost hikes are really hurting everybody, but in particular seniors and people on fixed incomes. So these residents need the type of housing that is provided in an ARR district. And an ARR district reduces this burden on them. The POCD stated that there is a need to meet the demand for alternative housing options to single-family dwelling to accommodate the elderly. It even encouraged the commission to work collaboratively with developers to build this type of housing and to accommodate such development via amendments to locate it in appropriate areas. So that's language straight out of the POCD, and that's exactly what's happening here tonight, is identifying another area where there might be a possibility of having an ARR district. POCD also stated that the commission should specifically review the ARR district regulations to ensure that they were not too stringent and that development was reasonably feasible. And this goes again to the opportunity, question of this and what I was stating from the beginning. We're asking for a modest relaxation of the standards to be able to apply to you, not for you to approve a district tonight, but that we can apply to you and show you more potential ARR sites. That's it. That's all we're asking for. Again, the commission's going to retain its full legislative powers to determine whether a property is appropriate for an ARR. We don't believe that this, just going through the other criteria is a decision for a text amendment. We don't believe this application will adversely affect the health, safety, convenience, and property values of the public. It's going to provide much needed housing for elderly residents, which are in need of affordable options to remain in town without adding burdens to the school system. So just in summary, seniors, especially those on fixed incomes, empty nesters who have completed raising their kids in Monroe, are vital to this community. They have history, they know the community, their friends are here, and it's vital to try and retain them. Unfortunately, this current housing climate is crushing them. That data regarding people who have paid off their mortgage is just a testament to that. It's not the property taxes, it's more the utilities, septic, landscaping, home repairs, heating rooms they don't use anymore. It's pricing them out. And the POCD recognized it. The situation's gotten worse with inflation. The ARR just provides another option where they can still have, and I'm sure a lot of Monroe residents, what drew them was that single family feel. And the ARR district, it's not single family. It allows attached dwelling units, but it still has that feel. It has buffering. You built in a lot of buffering and a lot of restrictive standards with regards to coverage and separation of buildings to make sure, even though it's denser, it's not an apartment building. It has that feeling, but it allows them to share the costs, these heavy housing costs, heavy housing burden that they have with their fellow owners. The amendment drops down the level of density permitted on these parcels, and it maintains all the setback buffering. So the front, rear, side setbacks, the coverage, the height, the building separations, it maintains all that. That doesn't change between a 7-acre site or a 10-acre site or a 15-acre site or a 20-acre site. It's all the same. And it's just allowing this on Stanley Road, which again, we think is a perfect location for it. It's easy access to the town's main thoroughfare, but it's not in a location where it's going to negatively impact vital Monroe roadways by being on Stanley Road. And it's not burdening the school system. So I'm happy to answer any questions. We think this is a reasonable, modest expansion that will allow us the opportunity to come present to you. We think is an appropriate location for an ARR district in the town.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Russo.
Thank you, Chair.
So let's start with the commissioners. Start on my right. Any questions about this proposed text amendment?
So you're saying you need all these amendments to just make a presentation, otherwise this wouldn't be possible at all?
Right, I mean, the only way would be variance.
But it could go that route if you had to.
It could, but it's a number of variances that we, it's difficult to make an argument for. Whereas we feel that this amendment is still in line with your POCD and it and you still have the protections designating the district so that this modest expansion is something where you can feel comfortable that, all right, we're changing this regulation, but we still have control, complete control over designating an ARR. Whereas a variance, again, there's not really an argument for it with a variance. You would just be asking for specific relief on your parcel. And I don't think that's a basis for granting a variance on this.
Thank you.
How many 7-acre lots are there currently on Stanley Road?
That would be able to come in right away to the YMCA piece and then 188 Stanley Road.
And then there's other.
Somebody could put together one.
They could, yeah, obviously. All right, so there is potential for a fair amount of ARB potentially come to Stanley Road, which
to come apply to.
Apply to, yeah.
And if somebody goes and they put 4 or 5 lots together and they reach 7 acres, again, that doesn't force you anyway to approve that.
No, but they could look at it, which I agree with you. It is something our POCD is looking for. There's definitely a need for it in town. Why, I know you said lawyer talk. Why doesn't it just say Stanley Road instead of, except on parcels with a minimum lot below 10 acres without frontage? Why doesn't it just say on Stanley Road there?
I think, again, south of that is unpaved.
Okay.
And so right now, it's not really an appropriate location, I think, for it. It would also, a lot of other parcels would then be brought into the possibility for this, which you may be in favor of in the future, possibly. But specifically for this application, we thought because it's so close to the state highways, which is stressed in the existing regulation, that having it close to that intersection was appropriate. So that a development would quickly be able to get out onto Stepney Road. But there's a lot of farm parcels on Stanley Road, old farming parcels that are there, and I think there's a few that are over 7 acres.
All right, that's all for me.
So basically, they can be developed.
Sorry.
Those parcels could be developed.
If we remove the 2,000-foot language, then it would just be on Stanley Road. But right now, the only parcels that are above 7 acres that would qualify there's 2 of them.
That's all I have for now.
I don't know where to begin here. I don't. We're trying, as you know, I part of the subcommittee, and we try to clean up the regulations and make them understandable and easy to, identify and condense. And after that presentation, I'm surprised there's not smoke coming out of my ears, because I would have trouble understanding that if I was ever to reread that in the regulations. I am concerned about overdevelopment in that area in this regard. I think area that you're talking about, I'm in favor of. I like the project. As far as going about it in this manner, I'm not so sure about it. Is there any kind of hardship on the property at all, a topography hardship, wetlands, anything that you could possibly use in your favor going for a variance?
There are, and I mean, I understand, because there's a lot of language to kind of be restrictive here, but essentially what we're saying is on the paved portion of Stanley Road, enable a smaller development that's 7 acres that would have reduced density. That's the presentation basically in 5 seconds. I went through that language, you know, and I understand that it's a lot of stuff being thrown out there, but it's just to be restrictive and essentially dip the commission's toes into an area that wasn't an originally intended area.
Right, but it almost seems like we're writing a huge amount of amendments together for the future for us to have to contend with for one project. And it could alter the face of what we're trying to do and the way the regulations were originally written. And I understand the POCD calls for housing, and that's great. And I think it's the way we want to go as far as allowing empty nesters and seniors to stay in town. I would have to really look at this further because you kind of lost me halfway through. I was trying to stay with you, and then
I know, and I wish I had it pulled up so I could, you know, we'd be looking at it together but I mean, if to go quickly through them, it's expanding it to Stanley Road within 2,000 feet of the 2 state highways. We thought that if the commission was comfortable with just Stanley Road, because again, they could apply to you, you could say no.
Right.
But if the commission wanted to make it simpler and just say Stanley Road, that works as well. And hopefully the commission agrees Stanley Road, it seems like an appropriate place for it. The density, it's just reducing it down to 3.5 units per acre. It's reducing the minimum lot area to 7. And the other amendment, which was the one that we proposed, was with regards to the requirement of 2 access drives.
Right.
So there's a lot of words to kind of accomplish that, but that's what the application is.
Do we typically name roads in our regulations? Is that something that?
Oh, we have, but it's minimal.
Yeah.
Like I know the limitations to like the MDD, there's a cutoff that names some specific.
Yeah, our MDD 25 parts of 1 parts of 34.
Right.
And so, and somebody may come to you and say, you did this for Stanley Road. We think you should do it for Cross Hill.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that might actually already qualify, but something like that. Somebody might come to you and say, we think Cross Hill should add to it. And then you could look at it and you could decide, okay, you know, Cross Hill makes sense as well. We're just, you know, I didn't do an analysis of the entire town, but Stanley Road, when we were looking at this piece, just seemed like a natural piece to add to this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how the rest of the commission feels, but I would have to digest the information and maybe even go through and watch it again. And like I said, just on the face of it, the variance seems more, you know, appealing to me right now. I'm not on that board by any means, but you know, it does seem like something that might work for you, but that's all I have for now.
So I did follow you pretty well.
Okay.
I work in compliance and regulations. However, I think I missed the big piece. Are you asking for our entire regulation to be changed or just make a special like sub-regulation just for Stanley Road?
So the entire ARR regulation would be changed.
So this could apply to anyone.
Well, but again, the first amendment change is just to add Stanley Road in. So it's not applying, you know, that's.
Add Stanley Road in and then add in the 2,000 feet, the 7 acres.
The 2,000.
And the 3.5.
So 7 acres. So yes. So if we would certainly be open to this, if the commission only felt comfortable with 7 acres on Stanley Road, we could limit it to just Stanley Road.
I think my struggle I'm having, Chris, right?
Yes.
I think the struggle I'm having, I don't know about the other members, is that we're rewriting an entire regulation for one piece of property. And why 7 acres? Why 2,000 feet? It just seems very specific to this project. I'm not saying I don't support the project. In my previous life, I was a social worker for elders. I'm fully in support of affordable housing that's age restricted. I think the struggle I'm seeing right now, just outside the topic, is the ARRs I'm seeing are not so affordable for the seniors that currently live in Monroe that are trying to get out of their houses into maybe even a more expensive house, or one that has 2 stories and not accessible as you get older. Totally different topic. But I agree with some of the others. I think a variance here would be something I would be more interested in at the moment than changing this over. But I think it would take more conversation and digestion for this, to be honest. But I appreciate you. I followed you, so.
And I think one of the unique things with an ARR compared to, because there are a lot of site-specific regulations, SDDs, PDDs that you see other towns use where it's just designated for a specific site. Those are usually restricted to commercial corridors and to those areas. The ARR district is something that you allow throughout the residential districts, throughout the rest of the town. So RF1, RF2, RF3, they all have the capacity for ARR. So it's a little tough to do almost like a site-specific regulation. You almost have to change this broad ARR district that applies to all the RF1 districts.
Yeah, and I made a good point of trying to reduce some of the traveling, right, dumping right onto a main road. So I think within a certain footage is something we can think about, because we don't want to burden our main road. But I think I'm struggling with they're making it more restrictive to 7 acres, 3.5. I'm struggling on that one, to be honest, but.
Well, and maybe if we keep the public hearing open and continue it, we can take a look at that. The reason we kind of pinpointed, the nice thing about the intersection of the 2 state highways was it gave us a point certain, and then we could draw a 2,000 foot radius, and then so the commission could be comfortable of what am I looking at, what area am I specifically looking at. But hearing the comments, maybe we can revisit the language and in trying to make that clear.
One more question. I don't think it is. Is the dirt part of Stanley historic?
No.
No. Has there been any traffic studies? Because once you know that it dumps out to the end of Judd and you get down to the Trumbull real quick, it does become a cutover for cars. I admit it.
Okay.
So traffic isn't always going to go out to 59. I know a lot of people that do use that to get down to Judd, to get down to the, Madison Avenue area. So I'm just wondering what the traffic, if that road itself and the dirt portion can handle the extra traffic.
Well, and that's definitely something, and I can look at that now, but, whenever somebody would come forward with an application, they would submit an application for the zone change to designate the ARR and a special exception permit, which would require the traffic study. So you would get that at that point, so you wouldn't approve an ARR without having seen the traffic study to show that it can sufficiently handle.
Well, I mean, they're not, if you do a traffic study on that portion of the road she's talking about, it's almost unsafe, especially the hairpin turn that's in the middle of it by the farm. And there's no traffic on it now. She's talking about when potentially development goes up, people will start using it more. And if you go around that corner more than 20 miles an hour, you're potentially head on collision with an oncoming vehicle. So that traffic study is not going to speak to the potential traffic that's going to be coming out of there.
Well, it'll certainly estimate how many cars will be coming.
Just doesn't know which way they're going to go, and nobody thinks they're going to go down the dirt road, but it's possible.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you could. It is fairly rough.
But it is possible when 25 is backed up, like Leanne was saying, 15, 16 cars deep. People tend to know the way around. So.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a recommendation? There's 2 things going on tonight. We're having some technical difficulties. That's going to impact the next hearing. Hopefully it can correct itself. But insofar as Chris wasn't able to show you, let's take this opportunity and continue to, staff will prepare a comparative analysis, existing regs, proposed regs. You got to see it side by side and say, I like that, I don't like that. ZBA is always an avenue. You've already brought that up. They have to show their hardship though. But I think it's prudent to continue that.
Then we'll leave it open.
Yeah, and we'll work on revising the language, just based on the feedback.
Can we look at a way to identify Stanley Road without saying Stanley Road? I understand it might pull in some other properties, but maybe within the intersection of two state highways without Stanley Road, but then it's going to blow things up and then you pull in other things.
Stanley
But
Road is just a.
Stanley one within
Stanley Road
2,000.
is one.
yeah, but I'm saying there are others, yeah. So
You're
it
trying to
would,
say it has to be within a certain thousand, how many thousand?
Yeah, just to limit the radius.
But how many other areas?
right now it's over that, but if we remove Stanley Road, it's going to.
Yeah, you're gonna.
Properties throughout the town that would be
That
within.
was what, so that was what we were trying to avoid, because then you have to go in analysis and looking at all, and we just wanted the commission to feel comfortable, like, okay, I'm only looking at this area. I don't have to worry really about all the rest. And that's why the language got super specific.
No, it's just 34.
Since it doesn't.
Thank you.
Let's go to the public for that portion of the hearing tonight. If there's anybody in the audience that would like to comment on this application, please raise your hand. If there's anyone online that would like to comment on this application, please raise your hands. This is the time to do it. I don't see anyone. Okay. So then we'll leave this hearing open.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate the feedback.
And our final public hearing for the night is excavation and fill permit, EFP 2023-01, file number 111.
All right, Kevin, let's see if you have the magic wand.
The new application.
Rick, I think it turned on when you stood up and sat down. I don't know if that had something to do with it.
There's some looseness.
Can we try holding the?
All right, I'm gonna keep the share now.
Come on, Kevin, you can do it.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and read that. Planning and Zoning Commission, Monroe, Connecticut, notice of public hearing in accordance with CGS 8-7D. A public hearing will be held on Thursday, June 1st, 2023 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter via hybrid Zoom meeting and in-person attendees located at Monroe Town Hall. EFP 2023-01, file 111-125 Garter Road. Excavation filling permit application for proposed earthwork activity to prepare site for future property development at 125 Garter Road, Assessment Map 094, 002, 125 Garter Road. The Monroe Engineering LLC. Notice was published in the Connecticut Post on May 25th.
Thank you, Commissioner Condon. It looks like
Yeah, what happened? Thanks.
quick. You have the exhibits.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, exhibit number 1, application set plans, exhibit number 2, Health Department comments. And that is all, Mr. Chairman.
All right, for the applicant tonight.
Good evening, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Kevin Soley. I'm a professional engineer in the city of Connecticut with Soley Engineering. I'm also located right here in Monroe, 5 Main Street. Also with me here this evening is Chris Plowski from my office. So we're here tonight. I'm just going to kind of give a brief overview and intro as to why we're here. And then Chris is going to run through a lot of the technical details, and then we'll both be here to answer any questions the commission may have. So this is for a proposed excavation permit application for 125 Garter Road. The commission may recall there was a previous application for a similar application on this property. And during that application process, we thought that we were being very responsible to the commission's comments. We provided a number of changes to those, to that project in response to the commission's comments. And ultimately, the commission did not view that application favorably. What we learned through deliberations and some of the discussions was that some of the concerns, like we believe, were surrounding the potential future use of the property as an industrial building. Now, the site itself is going industrial. It's located on Garter Road. We'll go through that tonight. But I think some of the concern was, even though it's zoned industrial, future use of industrial could potentially be problematic for some of the neighbors and things like that. So what we've done, and we did come to the commission informally for very good input on this. We've changed the potential future land use plan for this lot. It is essentially something that we could be constructed kind of post excavation of a simple residential subdivision to create 4 family parcels on this property, which we think would probably be more in line with what the commission may be looking for. But obviously, we still need to go through an excavation permit application simply to perform the necessary earthwork on the property that would be needed to accommodate future residential development. So substantively, most of our materials are the same. The work that was approved by the Wetlands Commission within the regulated area has not changed from the past application. We simply want to provide additional future land use plans for showing residential uses and made some associated grade modifications to kind of reflect that. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Chris. Any other questions for the Commissioner? Awesome.
Thank you, Kevin. For the record, my name is Chris Pulaski. I'm a licensed professional engineer with Solely Engineering. Office is located here in Monroe, Connecticut. Here to talk about 125 Garden Road. Kevin did a good job summarizing. We were way before. We were denied the area within the wetlands, which was approved in the above area, has not changed. And we are here before you with modifications and the future development pad, which will be now for residential use. I'm going to walk through the site plans and all the information there. And Kevin and I'll be happy to answer any questions you all may have. So to orientate everyone, the site is located mouse to work here. The site is located along Route 25 to the north. You head down Pepper Street and make a left on Gardner Road. It's located at 125 Gardner Road, as shown here. Materials from 2018. It's pretty recent in terms of the active limited statements here. The site was previously owned by someone who mined it for a number of years. Our client purchased it a year or two ago. Has owned it since. The Gardner Road runs north-south, pictured here. This is the current area. There's an upland review area located in the east general vicinity. And then there's wetlands located off to the west of the rear of the property. So this is our 2.21, our grading and drainage plan. Along the site is located at elevation 410 along the southernmost point of Gardner Road. Again, Gardner Road travels north-south. It climbs an elevation by about 30 feet. So up in this corner, you're at elevation 430. The lowest point on the site is the 410 elevation down in the bottom here. And also along the wetlands, they're at elevation 412 to the rear. Up in the northernmost portion of the site, there is elevation 470. So you're talking about a 60-foot grade change from the bottom here to the top. The site definitely undulates in terms of topography. When you enter into the site, it's relatively steep drive. There's a low area in here, and it climbs back up, and then it drops back down towards the wetlands. It's unforgiving. It needs to be graded. That's hence why we're before you all. There's steep slopes and other things of that nature, which I'll get into in a minute. But we are seeking a 2-year permit here. Most of the material, or all of it, 85,244 cubic yards, are proposed to be exported. We do have a construction entrance. There is no scale house proposed on the plans. We did listen to some comments I received last time. We did add a well for dust suppression. There's a stormwater basin located in the rear vicinity. That has not changed. That is located within the upland review area. That was approved by the Wetlands Commission on Monroe. We are proposing to enter the site at an existing grade of around 424 to 426. Our intention is to cut a few feet. And the majority of the site, as you see here, this large flat area, will be between elevations 426 and 430. The reason we chose those elevations is because it's essentially a balancing act. So the lower portion of the site down at 410, and then up to here at 440 and even higher at 470, we didn't want to be filling hundreds of thousands of cubic yards, and we also didn't want to be cutting too much. So we tried to balance the site again, picking the middle point on Gardner Road and holding that topography. So the proposed topography, as you see here, it'll come down on a 3-to-1 slope. This is conducive to residential development. There was previously a berm in the front that we were seeking to keep as part of industrial development, but if you're a residential user, you don't want a 15 to 20 foot high berm sticking straight out in front of your property. So we need to grade down from the road in that area to eliminate that. On the southern side of the property, we're grading up at a 5-to-1 or a 6-to-1 slope. I'll get to the potential development plan at the end of the presentation, but essentially you're going to be looking at 4 single-family houses, 1, 2, 3, 4, all along this flat pad, all of similar elevation. There is adequate septic capacity on the plan. We don't have any septic proposed at this time. We're simply before you for an excavation and fill permit. But as part of a subdivision application in the future, we will be before you, and that will be a part of it, all the septic designs and everything of that nature. So there is 3 waivers that we are requesting as part of regulation 6.4.9 in the Monroe zoning regulations as part of this application. We're requesting a waiver from regulation 6.4.9C, which has to do with grading within 25 feet of the property line. So as I mentioned before, in order to achieve this slope, we have to grade within 25 feet of the property line. Same thing on this side. And also we're doing some minor grading and clearing along the road to provide adequate site distance during the excavation and fill permit activities. We're also requesting a waiver of section 6.4.9D. That is that has to do with grading within 50 feet of the property line. As we already are grading, we're disturbing contours within 50 feet of the property line, or within 25 feet. We're also doing the same within 50 feet of the property line. And finally, we're requesting a waiver of 6.4.9P. It has to do with sorting, crushing, and grading on the property. Unfortunately, the only way that we can successfully excavate and remove the 85,000 cubic yards of material in a 2-year time frame that we are requesting, we do have to crush on site. The crusher will be located way in the rear here, far away from the residential development across the street, and as far away feasibly as we could put it from the road in order to minimize the noise associated with such operation. So those are a little bit about the waivers. We are again proposing an elevation tab between 426 and 430, and the plan has been designed to essentially create 4 lots with nice, relatively flat sloping topography towards the rear. And again, the only real changes are the elimination of this berm along the front side of the road. Residential development is not conducive to having a larger berm in front of your property. As it is located on a low traffic road, there isn't really anything busy going on. So in terms of soil erosion and sediment control measures, the first phase of our soil erosion and sediment control plan is to install the 2 sediment traps shown in the rear here. We're going to be setting up silt fence and hay bales or mulch berms along the wetland side here. The limit disturbance is shown here, disturbing 4.999 acres, from around that exact number. The site is 9.45 acres in total. It is located within the industrial district in town of Monroe. We have our temporary soil stockpile located here, our anti-trapping pad, construction entrance, there's some diversion swales to divert the water to the sediment traps and basins. And then you see here our stormwater quality basin in the center of the site. Everything shown on the plans here was designed in accordance with 2004 Connecticut Soil Erosion and Sediment Control Manual. And all the stormwater measures on the site were designed in accordance with 2002 Connecticut Stormwater Quality Manual. This is the second phase of our soil erosion and sediment control plan here. Again, you see more grading along the front. So we'll start towards the rear and then work their way out towards the front. All the SEC measures put in place during phase 1 are to remain during phase 2. We also have a series of silt fence that will be extended. These slopes will be stabilized upon completion or when the excavation is complete. Again, we have a series of dust control measures. All the equipment, the crushing equipment, will be hooked up with sprinklers. There is a well that we're going to be drilling on the site located in the front as shown on the grading plan. That will provide dust suppression throughout the site on a daily basis. Just some things I did quickly skip over on the last slide, but hours of operation are in accordance with the regulations. There's a blasting plan associated with this project. The typical hours for the crushing are 9 to 3 or 10 to 3. They're shown on the plan, Monday through Friday operation, no weekends, no holidays. Again, everything in accordance with town of Monroe regulations. So this is our pre-vegetation map. So if you notice, a lot of the general vicinity, the center of the site has already been previously disturbed and is stripped of any existing vegetation. There's that large wetland located in the rear, which we are not disturbing. We are doing some minor disturbance in the upland review area, which I'll get to on this slide, but as you can see, we are going to be planting a series of trees and plants along the new area, and then we'll be maintaining as much existing vegetation as we can along the front. We're also supplementing in hopes of future residential development for the site. So this is our cross-section plan. As I mentioned before, the existing topography climbs from the southern portion of the site up to the northern, and then also as you move from east to west before dropping off towards the wetland corridor. Again, it's very unforgiving, the topography that is out there. This excavation and fill permit is necessary in order to grade the site, in order to prepare for that future residential development. Here's some of the cross sections that are located in the plans that you all have for you that demonstrate the existing topography and proposed conditions. But again, we are essentially preparing for lots of a gentle slope towards the rear. Final plan that I wanted to go over today was our future residential development plan here. So the site's 9.45 acres. We do have to deed 15% open space as part of the subdivision. I want to just make clear that this is not part of this application, but this is what we are looking to do in the future. So you're looking at 4 lots, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's in a 2-acre zone. Well, it's surrounded by a 2-acre zone, so we chose that to design our future subdivision plan too. They all have drives off Gardner Road, and they'll be again 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a large open space area to the rear. This anything we have the proof of mailings that I submitted for the record. You. Again, we're going for a 2-year permit according to regulation. We did property. There's no scale house. There won't be any selling of any material. Our client will be using material on various jobs that he's responsible for. So there won't be no scale house, and there won't be any public sale of material. With that, I'd like to open it up to any commissioner or public comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Rick, these waivers, aren't we in the process of revising 6.4?
Yeah, and the applicant's going to address that.
Now?
We can. So there's an application, I think, that's been filed that might be pending with the commission.
Yeah, that's under new business tonight.
Correct. The regulations have existed for a long time. They establish provisions where permits like this, the applicant can request waivers, the commission can grant those. That has been the practice of this commission for multiple applications, not only excavation and fill permit applications, but those conditions are directly supposed to apply to special exception permits. And it's been the normal practice, routine practice of this commission to act in that manner. With that being said, state statutes and some recent court decisions have said that planning and zoning commissions don't have the ability to grant waivers. That doesn't mean that, I don't believe that means that the prior acts from the commission were necessarily wrong, but there has been court tested decisions that carry different opinions. So, I think that it really comes back to whether or not an application is challenged and tested in court. What we've proposed as another means to fix it from a big picture standpoint would eliminate that need. I think it would eliminate the need for waivers in this application because basically what the past practice of the commission has been is there are specific conditions that have been a part of these regulations for decades, much longer than I've been working in town, that we don't really know where the origin came from, but they generally get waived on every application because it's appropriate to waive them. That doesn't mean that the commission can't require those same conditions on future applications. It just means the commission can decide whether or not to require them. Since they've been waived so frequently in the past, there's a pending application before the commission that will essentially eliminate the need for this. Since this application was filed under the current regulations, we wanted to make that request. We had made that request previously. We still think that's appropriate to do. And again, ultimately, our approach for this is we wanted to try to be responsive to what we heard during deliberations and come back with an application that we felt would hopefully be better, well received with what a future land use could be established on the property.
So we have another application for this property that will alleviate or avoid the need for waivers?
No, we have a proposed regulation amendment that doesn't apply to any specific property. It applies to the regulations, which would eliminate the issue of requesting waivers.
Okay.
But currently, if we were to approve this, your client is aware that if in turn somebody were to take it to court, it appears that at least one judge has determined that giving these waivers is unlawful.
Yes, and it's a fascinating legal discussion.
Yeah, we're in a pickle here a little.
What's most amazing to me is the case law actually started in Monroe.
Yeah, he cited us against ourselves. It was fun.
Yes, it started in Monroe on an old McDonald's application on Route 25, and it was whatever, but it's fascinating that it continues to come around. But aside from the decision that was used that affected this last waiver request, there have been other case law that have actually reinforced that commissions can grant waivers. So you're correct. Yes, one judge made an opinion. A different judge may make a different opinion and look at different case law differently. So our client is certainly aware of that. We feel that, it's just that law is a funny thing. In land use law, you learn more and more about it every time you work on a project. So.
All right, then let's go to questions from the commissioners.
Yeah, I think the main concern is the 85,000 cubic yards to be removed. That's a lot of material, which I'm assuming is going to, cause more blasting and the crushing. Besides the residents in the area, we have 2 schools pretty close to that area. I mean, is there no plan that you could make a feasible platform without, with a lot less material removed?
Unfortunately, not at this time. Due to the topography that's out there, there's like 30 to 40 foot grade changes within a few feet horizontally. There's massive slopes. Unfortunately, the prior property owner kind of just did whatever they wanted on the land, and it happened over a series of years. We're trying to clean this up and move. And the only way to do that, unfortunately, is to grade down to a relatively flat pad. We tried to balance the site as much as possible. The previous application actually proposed about 110,000 cubic yards to be explored. We cut 25,000 cubic yards off of that. And that has been responsive. We're trying to get it done in 2 years in accordance with the regulations. I know that probably closest school is well over a mile. It is pretty located way down the end of Gardner Road. In this vicinity, it's closer to Pepper Street.
I know where it is.
Not an exact.
It's pretty close.
Either way, we did our best to balance the site. We were responsive to concerns. Like I said before, previous application, I included 25,000 more cubic yards to be exported. So we're trying to get it done in the 2-year time. Thank you.
All your questions then.
Last time we had a schedule of time when we're going to do this crushing and blasting.
Yep.
We'll have that.
Yep.
Didn't see any of that tonight.
It's on the plans there.
I don't have the plan.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, they're usually the same.
9 to 3, or I think 10 to 3.
We don't have them.
No, we don't have the plans.
We don't have them. We don't have, you didn't do plans, right?
We did. We did submit all new, a full submission with all the.
Yeah, Kevin, I just learned that they're not in the package, so.
Yeah, I think
you got to keep this open.
We understand.
We're going to keep the hearing open.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I was getting me the answer.
Oh, it's for the blasting. Hopefully.
Did you lose it?
So the blasting is conducted between the hours of 9 to 3, Monday through Friday.
The site operations are to be conducted from 9 to 4 Monday to Friday. And it's all right on the plans or specific notes, detailed in sheet 2.2. I apologize that you don't have it from me.
No, we don't. Okay. You said we're gonna keep it open anyway. Let's look at the sheet. And then one other question. So I know that you're gonna come in with this residential. When is that gonna take place?
Well, we need to be able to process the material while it's zoned the zone that it is. And as soon as that material is done, we would come in with the zone change and subdivision.
You're confident that you'll be done with this within 2 years?
Yeah, we believe so. You know, some of this material will actually be used on Garter Road. So that's the intent. Yes, that's the plan. Or Pepper Street, excuse me. Pepper Street.
We know what you mean.
Well, the reason why I'm saying I want this project to be done in 2 years. We don't.
We understand.
It's not gonna continue on. We're probably not gonna give you an extension on it, so you're gonna have to be done in 2 years. I mean, confident you're gonna get this done in 2 years.
We understand.
All right, that's all I have for now.
Commissioner Westerland.
So I understand the project needs to make sense financially for your client, but if we were to reduce this down to 3 buildable residential lots instead of 4, would we not need the first and second waiver?
No, I don't believe so. Unfortunately, if I can zoom out really.
Stop sharing.
Yeah, stop sharing.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry about that. I didn't realize that. So the topography located in the northern side is at elevation 470.
Yeah, I don't think there's, just based on how to, the first waiver is one that has been waived on everything because it's kind of impossible to comply with. No change in contour within 25 feet of any property line. It's kind of an impossible thing to do.
It's not enforced on most lots.
Exactly, and it's granted whenever a waiver is requested. So even if we made it 3 lots instead of 4, we'd still have to grade within 25 feet of a property line. Couldn't avoid that entirely. Just because trying to get the access in and clean up what's out there, because it's kind of was left in a nasty manner, right? To try and almost improve or reduce a nonconformity that was probably done over the past operations. I think the other one, 14 degrees of the horizon. Yeah, I think we'd still probably need that, but, you know, the end game for this is, you know, I don't know if we'd be able to avoid them if we made it through and so forth.
It's just an idea. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I don't really have any questions. I agree this kind of has to get fixed somehow. I like that it's 2 years. I wish we could somehow have less blasting. That's my only concern. But no questions at this moment.
Thank you.
Okay. And we'll go to the audience, see if there's anybody in-house. Please come on down to the microphone and just name and address for the record, and you're addressing us,
yes,
not the applicants.
My name is Ted Zelensky. I live at 150 Garden Road, basically right across the street from the quarry. It's been going on for about 10 years, obviously. I was looking at their maps. They did a nice job. But house number 3 or lot number 3, I can't imagine putting a house there because there's like a 150-foot hole right there, full of water. I know you can drain the water, but the house would be sitting 100 feet down. I know they want to bring the elevation down, but it's going to be sitting down in a pit. I think it's more or less just a smoke show. I think they just want to take the material out and then, just like the last guy did.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes, come on down. Just name and address for the record, please.
So I'm Kelly Davidowski. I live at 142 Garter, so I'm also right across the street from the quarry. And I have several concerns. First of all, I know that they say blasting and drilling and crushing are going to happen between the hours of 9 and 3 or 9 and 4, but who enforces that? Do I call the police if they start drilling at 6:30 in the morning, which is what has happened in the past? I haven't had a great track record with this company, so I feel less than confident when they tell me they're gonna start at 9, or end at 3, or not have trucks in and out on Saturdays. I'm just not confident on who I call if there's a problem. So maybe they could answer that question, or you could for me. I also want some sort of assurance when it comes to blasting and the blasting plan that there's going to be some measure to take care of my house. I have a well, I have a septic tank, I have a foundation. How much notice do I get? Like, will my small children need somewhere else to nap that day? Like, that's not a big deal, but I need to know these things. I can't come home at 11:30 ready to put my 2-year-old down for a nap and it sounds like there's bombs going off across the street. That's just not gonna work. So is it 24-hour notice, 48 hours notice? Does it have to be written notice? Do they put something on my property to measure the vibration? Should I be concerned if, I see a crack somewhere? What exactly does the crushing sound like? Should I be nervous when I hear it? Should I YouTube what crushing sounds like so I know? Those are some of my biggest concerns. My other concern is also what was mentioned before by some of you about the 2-year commitment. Again, what happens after the 2 years? If they're like, oh, hey, we're not done yet, do you just let them keep going? Or again, if the permit runs out, are they just gonna keep going anyway? If they're working now without a permit, what's gonna stop them in 2 years from working without a permit? I know they said that Garter Road doesn't have a lot of traffic, but for someone who lives there, it's a lot of trucks. And Pepper Street obviously is a separate issue right now that's contained, that will be done. But there are lots of through trucks that go through over to Fan Hill, so there is traffic. So when they're grading close to the property line, are they gonna close the road? Are they going to have trucks blocking the road in order to access all of that? And again, how much notice do I get? Do I have to plan an alternate route home? Just tell me, but again, does it have to be in writing? What are the rules and who is going to enforce this? Thank you so much for letting us air our concerns.
Thank you for your comments. Do you have anyone else here that would like to comment on this application? Do you have anybody online that would like to comment on this application? Okay, seeing none, then we'll go back to the applicant. If they'd like to address any of the concerns or conclude.
Thank you for the comments and address the commission. So first, the first comment regarding the 150-foot hole. We've done a survey. There's no 150-foot hole that is out there. There is a depression where lot 3 would be. We're actually filling that. So when I talked about balancing the site before, the 410 elevation at the low and the 470 at the high, that depression, if you will, is getting filled so that it balances out that level pad. So it's not going to be down in a hole. As mentioned, again, we have a survey. Also, our proposed grading plan reflects that. Then I'll move on to the questions regarding the blasting and things of that nature. So there is a blasting plan. It will happen between 9 and 3, as mentioned in accordance with the plans. There is a call that goes out. So first, there's a pre-blast survey that's done on all property within at least 750 feet. There's a map associated with that. Your property will fall within that radius, so you will be part of that pre-blast survey. There's vibration monitors that are set out as a part of that. And then whenever there is a blast, there is always a call, a notification, and then there are 3 warning shots that go that are just like loud horns, and then there's just one blast, one boom, if you will. We're also, our client is going to try his best to use mechanical means as much as possible to break up this rock and try to reduce the amount of blasting as much as he can. But he's going to work within the confines of the permit, right? So he has two years to do this. He's going to go as much as he can mechanical, but he's going to have to blast at some point just to meet that 2-year deadline. Because when you hammer rock, it's a slower process. And when we buy mechanical means, whatever we might hammer But yes, there will be a pre-blast survey. We submitted a blasting plan. It's all detailed in there. There will be plenty of notification. They have to call all the neighboring property owners. There's warning horns and then one boom. And when I mean boom, it's just like a quick shot depending on the blast size. Our plan again is going to try and mechanically as much as possible. I think another question was regarding the grading of the property line. We don't anticipate blocking the road for any reason. They're going to be operating from inside of their property limits. There's some brush and stuff that's got to kind of be clear on the edge of the road, but they can do that from inside of the property, so we don't anticipate any road closures or anything of that nature.
That was great, Chris. Just to add to it, blasting itself is a very highly regulated operation. It's administered by the fire marshal's office, and there are state regulations that go along with it. The part of the pre-blast survey that Chris mentioned, those are done before an activity takes place. All the properties are invited to do a pre-blast survey. And sometimes residents say they don't want it. I tell people all the time, get it. That's your opportunity to document the condition of your house, the condition of your well, the condition of your foundation. And that's the way to demonstrate if something happens. There are insurance policies and premiums established so that if something can be documented, it will be replaced at the cost of the contractor and the blaster and not borne on the resident. That's the reason for it. And I've definitely seen people refuse those pre-blast surveys, go down the line, not in Monroe, but go down the line and they say, oh, this happened. And I'm like, well, if you refuse the pre-blast survey, so you can't prove that it was caused from this, and no one would want that to happen. So it's a highly regulated thing, and you know, both the fire marshal's office and I'm sure the zoning, planning and zoning office would happily, you know, field calls and make sure that the activities are being done in accordance with any permits that may be granted.
Okay, thank you. Then any last questions? Because we're going to leave the hearing open.
Chris, I gotta just ask Chris this question. Who gets a call?
The contractor and the blasting party are responsible. It's required by state law. It's not just like a friendly thing that they're doing. It's required as part of the permit that they receive from the fire. Sorry?
When did that law come into place?
Actually, I'm not sure the calls are, but everyone that we've ever worked with, they do it as a courtesy. Because they want to create a,
There's no law.
I don't believe there's a law that requires.
I know.
I'm not entirely sure on that.
Yeah, I believe there's not. But on top of it all, that I want these neighbors to be able to be called. And so I know for a fact that all neighbors are on call.
That can certainly be something that the commission would condition.
So that's probably would be a condition on this to make sure that neighbors are called.
And oftentimes it's not just neighbors. It's surrounding people who are subject to the pre-blast survey, but if other people want to be made aware, they can certainly be added to that list.
No, I'm saying I want them to be, list or whatever, call before the blast. Because I mean, you have to come in for a permit anyway.
Yep.
You know exactly what day you're going to blast.
Yep.
So you give them plenty of notice before.
That's correct.
And that's what she was concerned about. So I know that because I've dealt with blasting for a long time and I know there's no law on it. So I know all about blasting. So, and the hours of operation, like I said,
9 to 4.
That time, Saturdays, Sundays.
That's right.
As far as the people that are concerned about who they notify, they need to come back to this commission and notify this commission that there's a problem. Or at the town hall, but the best bet would be come back to this commission so the commission can handle if there's a problem. And they'll give a cease and desist. All right, that's all I have for now.
One last question. You're saying some of the residents will deny the pre-blast survey at times, which, you know, they don't want people coming through their houses and their properties and everything else. How invasive is that procedure? How long does it take? They look at the well, the septic, the foundation. Do you have any idea what that procedure looks like?
I haven't actually done it. Generally it's either a video or photographic evidence of the foundations, the conditions. They don't necessarily do well stuff, but they can certainly, if there's a concern, they can certainly understand what the yield is, and so they can establish that from a record standpoint to make sure that there's not going to be a loss in that in the future that can be attributed to something like this. So, but it's not. It's probably something that's done in 20 minutes to an hour. It's not a
lengthy thing.
And as we know, the veins, the way the water is carried underground, it changes when things are disrupted and, it can alter somebody's flow rate, their gallon per minute, everything else with their well. So if I was a neighbor, I'd want to know how that was going and tested before and after. So if I'm a resident, I think you have every right to look into that. And it's a very valid concern. So you're figuring an hour or less.
I think generally speaking, I think those, when they, the blasting company does it, their insurance providers.
Sure.
So they come out and they want to make sure they document it. But it's not something that it's not a half-day thing or anything.
And it also keeps them honest as far as how much they're blasting because they don't want to create problems.
Exactly. And that's also regulated too by the state in terms of sizes of shots and things like that.
Got it. That's it.
How much notice does she get? I mean, is it hours? Is it a day? Not just you, Kelly, but in general, what's that notice from your experience? Does she have an hour to maybe relocate her and her children? A day?
Again, usually it would be, there'd be a call in the morning if there was going to be a blast later in the afternoon. It's not like I'm calling you 15 minutes before.
Okay.
Generally speaking, but I think that could be something that this commission can clearly articulate as a condition of approval. You have to provide notice to, you have to provide those calls 4 hours before a blast or 6
All
hours.
email or text or all three.
It's up to the commission.
Yeah, we can require it.
People aren't answering their phones for weird numbers anymore, so.
That's true.
And then I just want to address for Kelly specifically, when we're done, can you provide her the number for like the fire marshal and who to contact? Just so you know who to contact. You're welcome. I don't have any other questions.
Our client would be willing to work also with any, they're not here to cause concerns, they're happy to the contact person should there be any concerns.
All right, thank you. Then we'll keep this hearing open.
Thank you. I think really it's just because the packets weren't complete, so I'd like to come back at the next meeting on the 16th.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then we have two applications that we can deliberate on tonight. So during deliberations, we're all involved. The first one is this SCP 2018, the 205 Monroe Turnpike. This is where they want to put in the new supermarket.
I mean, I think it looks great. I think it's awesome to be a, continuation of adding on to that gateway kind of plaza is the first thing you see in town, and there's absolutely a need for it. So I would want to move towards approval.
I can't think of a better use for the property.
I agree. I think that the location, Ryan says it finishes off that project, and it does fit a need in this town for more affordable groceries. And I'm in support of it.
For the record, I think the building looks gorgeous too. I want to put that out there.
I like that style, huh?
I think it kind of matches what's over there.
Fits in with everything and looks good.
A rectangle, I think it looks.
Yeah.
All right, do you want to draft an approval?
Yeah, a favorable consensus from the 5 acting commissioners.
Yes. All right, great. And then we'll move on to the second. That's the new gas station on Pepper and Main Street with convenience store. All right, so.
We've had a few applications come through here for gas stations, and out of everything we've seen in the recent past, I think this is the best fit. In a good area, it offers, diesel where we need it up in that part of the northern section of 25. And I think it's a good fit.
Okay.
I like the location as well. As someone, when you're traveling up that side of 25 towards Newtown, once you passed the 59 intersection, there really is nothing. And for those that are leaving the Pepper Street area, it does fit a need. I do agree with some of Leon's concerns, though, a little bit. I think after time, people will learn not to try taking a left during rush hour. Hope.
But there's a light there.
But there is a light that they can get out the other way and just have some patience and take a left. But I'm leaning towards,
Approval.
right now.
I do understand now after Leon talked kind of what you meant. It's not as much of a concern of someone taking a left onto 25. It's them taking a left
into the turn lane,
ending up into the left turn lane and then putting on their right blinker
To try to.
back into the right lane.
into the right lane and
Problem
go
is,
forward.
too,
So it is a
that
little
you're gonna
messy.
take a tractor trailer truck out of there, you're gonna have the same issue. There's not gonna be any issue with it, because the truck is not gonna, if it's gonna be filling up down to Bridgeport, it's not gonna be going up to Danbury, it's going south. That tractor trailer is gonna come out that way, and it's gonna block that whole intersection. There's no way that he couldn't.
What about coming out on Pepper?
Pepper's fine. That's why I said, coming out that driveway, it was only a right turn coming out of onto Main Street. If you only had a right way, you would make the traffic flow all out onto Pepper and come out on Pepper, where the traffic light was, or, you know what I mean, and go out that way and turn. The problem I have with it is, I mean, our engineer didn't look at this for queuing or anything like that, Rick?
Oh, no.
It is for queuing?
Oh, absolutely, he did.
And we have no issue with the queuing?
He doesn't have any concerns to say no, to recommend no.
Yeah, I mean, I was there and it backed up 15 cars. And that's the only issue I have. I have no issue other with the gas station at all. But with that, there's going to be a problem there. I can tell you right now, there's.
I'm going to relay that again.
Right, because I understand, before we used to get queuing reports, and we used to get a traffic study from the engineer. Scott used to show us that what it would be if it queued up, and what the conditions would be, and this and this and that. I have an issue with the turning lane. If they went out and took a right-hand turn heading up north, and they used Pepper Street, there's not an issue. When that's that close to where, and like I said, if there wasn't a left-hand turning lane there, I wouldn't have too much concern about it. But there's a left-hand turning lane there, and somebody's gonna block that. There's no doubt in my mind that's not gonna happen.
What if they put a sign, no trucks, no through trucks there?
You can't really.
Kind of fixed, yeah.
Can't do that?
No.
The police talked about that. It's unenforceable.
Can't put trucks. It's like, but I'm just saying, that's my main concern. I don't know about the rest of the, like Robbie, you didn't have a concern with it, but.
Well, I don't like when I'm in a parking lot that's too restrictive, and I feel.
No, I'm just saying that for that one area, if it was further down the road, where the exit was further down the road, I wouldn't have a problem.
I understand during busy periods that it's going to be, in my opinion, it's not going to be very, enticing to try to go southbound out of that area. Can somebody attempt to do it? Of course.
Yeah.
Common sense is going to have to factor in. I get that. But I think at the end of the day, when there's not a high traffic volume and somebody wants to leave and there's not a lot of cars going up and down the road, they can turn left, like if you're pulling out of.
Well, for a perfect example, I went there at 12 in the afternoon because I was going to Mr. Max. Got the traffic light, and I started to count the cars behind me from the traffic light. There's one car in front of me. By the time I done count, that thing started counting by down at 12 in the afternoon. There was 15 cars.
On Pepper Street?
No, on Main Street.
Okay.
Backed up, going south. 15 cars were all the way up that hill.
Yeah, you're not going to want to come out of there and go southbound at that.
Somebody's going to go onto that turning lane because nobody was there. And then try to hang out and get in and branch into that traffic or cut across somewhere.
Is the turning lane right in front of where the egress is going to be?
I think it's right there. I'm almost positive.
Very long turning
Or
lane.
are they going to be going on the wrong side of the road to get to the turning lane?
No, I believe the turning lane goes all the way up there.
If somebody's going to do that, you put a no left turn sign, they're going to turn left anyway. I mean, we can't control what
I didn't want no left
when
turn.
they come out of
I
that.
wanted to make the driveway branch out so you couldn't make a left turn.
You still can.
You can, not basically.
People will still go left.
They do, but I'm saying to you, yeah, like the library, right? Would avoid.
I don't think.
Couple of farms, you're not supposed to go north when you're leaving. They got the rumble strip there.
Yep.
Most people don't go north unless they can. I know it's not the way that the traffic wants to be, wants to flow, but they will come out, wait, if you can go north, they zip across Main Street and they go north and there's no problems. I don't see a lot of people blocking southbound lane to go north. In that case, it'd be basically the same scenario. There's 2 lanes there also, but the traffic lights up further.
A lot of traffic lights way down further than that. I'm just saying, it's so close. If I, like I told you, if it wasn't that close, I wouldn't have an issue with it. But it's that close that I know somebody's gonna use that turning lane to stick in there. There's no doubt in my mind.
Of course, if it's that close, they will.
And then the people that want to turn left will have to wait.
Well, then on top of that, then that backs the traffic further because people that want to turn left, that's why I couldn't understand the state would let them do that because when that left-hand turn has a left-hand turn signal on it that lights up before the other traffic. So you're just going to back it up if that's blocked and somebody wants to go left, that's going to change not to go left. And so I'm just saying, if that lane wasn't there, I'd have no issue with it. That's the only reason why I said that.
All right, it's a hypothetical situation. It's possible, but I don't think we need to restrict the access because of that situation. I'm not in favor of requiring a right.
I don't mind them coming in right one way. I want them to go out the other way. I mean, coming in, they can make a lane coming in and they can make a lane going out. But it would have to be going in northbound and taking a right, going northbound, or go out onto Pepper Street and go down Main Street. That's the way I look at it. But anyway.
All right, so it sounds like a favorable.
Yep, I have it. Consensus, yeah.
Consensus. All right. Do we have anything else to deliberate?
That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Well, that's nice. Then let's move along to new applications. We have none.
Well, yeah, Mr. Chairman, we received one late yesterday. RAA 2023-06 file 1029E, modification to excavation and filling, section 6.4, which we just discussed tonight on the elimination of the waivers.
We're going to go back and change the regulations so that we don't need to waive them since they won't be in the regulations.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. Sounds like a way out. All right, pending minute meetings, we don't have any. Other planning and zoning matters. Anything, Rick?
Zoning Regulations Subcommittee, we need another meeting on a couple of items. Staff is recommending June 26th. It's closed on the 19th for the new holiday. Monday, June 26th at 5:30. We need to meet before we get into July and August. And then we'll start going to be.
What date did you say?
June 26th, Monday, last Monday in June.
That's not good for me.
I try to get the 19th, but we're closed for the holiday now.
Yeah. I'm good for the 26th. These guys aren't.
I'm not on it, but I'm going to be away.
Well, we need the core members.
Yeah.
Make it the 3rd, July 3rd.
Is town hall closed on the 3rd for the 4th of July holiday?
No, just the 4th.
10th.
Does it have to be a Monday? I need the core members.
July 10th?
No, I'm talking instead of a Monday. Remember, we moved it around a little bit.
We like Monday, yeah.
Monday, that's fine, but
No, I mean earlier in June.
earlier in June, Monday?
June 12th.
Tuesday, like it's Tuesday.
I can do anything.
Yeah, I'll be out of town on the 12th.
All right.
So 13th, the 20th, 13th, the 20th.
I can do.
I can do
So we have a dinner.
Yeah, you can't do the 13th.
Can't do the,
You can't,
you can't do the 13th.
Are you talking June 13th?
Yeah, half of us won't.
You can. They can't.
Why not? We have a meeting.
There's a
Meeting.
There's a meeting.
So the 20th? 20th?
Bosses, you can come. You just gotta buy a ticket.
Back on that.
So what day are we on?
June 20th, Tuesday?
Probably do that.
I could probably do that.
Yeah, we have RTC meeting.
Just kidding. We won't be here. Well, what
20th
what
is
time, what time?
5:30.
What day was?
Can we do 5? Because then we,
How long are your meetings?
yeah,
No, this is going to be an hour.
okay, because then we have a meeting at 6 that night here.
What day?
No, so 7 o'clock, we're here.
Yeah, but
I have a meeting in this room at 7 o'clock.
6, really.
Yeah.
What day are we talking
yeah,
about?
exact.
We talking about the 20th?
We're trying to.
You guys can, I'll excuse you if you want. It's up to you.
All right, 5 o'clock on the 20th?
20th?
Oh, so you'll be 5 o'clock if you can make it at 5.
Okay, June 20th at 5 PM.
Yeah.
We make it at 5.
Maybe I'll come bother you guys that.
Yes.
I'm not part of the group, but I go.
Oh, we have a blast.
Oh, yeah.
June 20th. Is that, what time did you just say?
5:13.
God help me.
5 o'clock.
That's the night of my massage.
My close to me.
I'm working on it. All right, Sean, Commissioner's report. Thank you, staff reports.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Second. All those in favor, say aye. We are adjourned at
9:36, I think.
9:36.